Olá, começa aqui o Religare, Conhecimento e Religião. Como tem sido avaliada a posição das mulheres no budismo? Quais as mudanças e os desafios ainda enfrentados por elas? No programa de hoje, eu converso com a monja Karma Lekshe Tsomo, doutora em filosofia pela Universidade do Havaí, que está de passagem pelo Brasil para ministrar palestras sobre problemas contemporâneos na perspectiva do budismo. Seja bem-vinda, monja. Acompanhe as notícias da nossa programação pelo site da TV Horizonte. O nosso endereço é tvhorizonte.com.br. Pelo canal Religare, Conhecimento e Religião no YouTube, você acessa, comenta e compartilha os vídeos das nossas entrevistas. Não deixe de nos acompanhar pelo YouTube. Monja, como começa o seu interesse pelo budismo?
Well, when I was a child, I was born into a family with the name Zen. As a result, the children at school used to tease me about being a Zen Buddhist. So I got interested from a young age, started reading books on Buddhism, and I liked it very much, so I just continued. I eventually went to India to study, and then came back and studied at the university.
Você faz parte do budismo tibetano. Quais as características desta vertente do budismo?
Well, the Tibetan tradition is special in that it has a systematic study program, which makes it very easy to understand the entire Buddhist teachings. The Buddha taught for 45 years, so we have a lot of information where to begin. So, as a result, the Tibetan project of systematically presenting the teachings is very special. Second, they have preserved this tradition of philosophical debate. So this was common in the 8th to 10th centuries in India, and only the Tibetans have preserved it. So this is also really good for theoretical analysis of the teachings. And third, they preserve special meditation practices called the Tantric teachings, Buddhist Tantra or Vajrayana. In these meditation practices, we visualize ourselves as a fully awakened being. In other words, we imagine that we are enlightened 24/7. So this is an amazing practice to try to embody the qualities of an enlightened being from morning to night and through the night.
Você se interessa pela posição das mulheres no budismo, em especial. Inclusive, é cofundadora da Sakyadhita, né, que é uma associação internacional de mulheres budistas. Como é que, na sua perspectiva, na sua experiência, você avalia a posição das mulheres no budismo? E quais são as conquistas alcançadas pelas mulheres nesta tradição?
Okay, well, in theory, men and women are equal in Buddhism because Buddhism is about purifying our consciousness, our mind, and in that regard, men and women are equal. But over time, the patriarchal traditions of society have sort of influenced Buddhism, naturally. The Buddha was something of a revolutionary in that he welcomed people from all socioeconomic backgrounds, men, women, of all traditions, right? And this is very unusual. He also started an order of fully ordained nuns, the Buddha himself. So we're on pretty solid foundation in that regard. But in Buddhist societies, men and women are not equal. And especially in the realms of politics and religion, we have a lot of work yet to do.
Sim. Como é que o budismo entende a igualdade de gênero?
Well, as I say, men and women are equal in theory, but in social practice, we find that all Buddhist institutions are male-dominated, at least in Buddhist countries. Now, this is changing a bit in the West. As Buddhism comes to Europe, North America, South America, we find that women are taking more prominent roles. Things are also starting to change in Asia. But it's slow because these traditions are 2,500 years old. It takes time. But in the last 30 years, we've made remarkable changes.
O budismo se associa a outras tradições, filosofias, religiões, no seu interesse comum pelo papel das mulheres na sociedade?
Buddhist societies are varied. we find that over 2,500 years, the teachings have gone to many different countries. And when Buddhism arrives, naturally, it sort of integrates, assimilates with the local traditions. So some of these local traditions are very discriminatory. They have pollution taboos around women. And somehow, some Buddhist traditions have absorbed these pollution taboos, but it has nothing to do with Buddhism. So we've been pointing this out. The work that we're doing now is to recover Buddhist women's history and also to point out that many of these discriminatory practices have nothing to do with Buddhism, in fact. And we see that actually attitudes are changing remarkably. In just a period of 30 years, people have started to think differently about women's potential, actually to go back to the original ideas of the Buddha, that women and men have equal potential for spiritual development. So that's our main point.
Ok. Você faz parte da Fundação Jamyang. Quais são as... que ela trata de... é um projeto para a educação, né? Educação para mulheres. Já são 15 escolas no Himalaia, indiano, em Bangladesh, também em Laos. Quais são as atividades realizadas por esta fundação?
In the beginning, our main activities revolved around literacy because I found that many of the Buddhist women that I was working with could not read or write. So this would include nuns who have dedicated their entire lives to the study and practice of Buddhism, but they cannot read, especially the nuns who were coming in from Tibet. So I started first with a literacy program, and then the nuns said that they wanted to learn Tibetan grammar so that they could understand the texts, the scriptures. Then they said they wanted to learn philosophy. This was unknown. At that time, it was assumed that only men would study philosophy, especially monks. So the tradition has been very much dominated by monks and monasteries that women were not allowed to enter. So we found teachers, and it was very difficult in the beginning to find teachers who would teach nuns. But eventually, the nuns were able to study and practice very well. Now we find that the nuns will be taking the highest degree in philosophy in the Tibetan tradition. It's called a Geshe degree. And this year in July, for the very first time in human history, women will be allowed to take this exam. And that's important, not only because it will enable them to teach the higher level teachings, but also it sends a message to the society that women do have equal capabilities, that you can do it too.
No Brasil, como tem sido este trabalho? Você está de passagem pelo Brasil, né? Você há um mês de vários trabalhos, vai visitar várias cidades aqui no Brasil, praticamente vai atravessar, né, todo o nosso país. Como tem sido esse trabalho, né, de educação para as mulheres, de discussão sobre o lugar das mulheres no budismo aqui no nosso país?
Well, I'm so happy to visit Brazil. It's been absolutely wonderful. I've met so many marvelous people, and people seem very happy, content with their lives, and very open-minded. So it's been great to talk to many different kinds of audiences, Buddhist audiences, but also university audiences, and also certain social action projects. So I'm very happy to see the interest in Buddhism here, and the fact that people of all different religious backgrounds seem interested in learning, finding wisdom wherever they can find it. So people have amazing questions. I'm very impressed with the level of education of Brazilians in general. And a kind of joy for life that is very special in the world. So I'm delighted.
Na sua universidade, né, como professora de filosofia, ali também é um espaço para essa sua atuação, desses temas do seu interesse?
Yes, teaching at a Catholic university has actually been a wonderful experience because they emphasize the Catholic social teachings. And in that regard, they're open to all different philosophical approaches. And I teach Buddhist thought and culture, I teach world religions, teach death and afterlife, religion and politics, and so forth. So this is a wonderful opportunity to do some comparative analysis about especially the Catholic perspective, but also other religious perspectives in dialogue with Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist social teachings.
No Religare de hoje eu recebo a monja Karma Lekche Tsomo. Ela pertence à tradição do budismo tibetano. Estamos falando sobre vários aspectos, em especial sobre o papel da mulher no budismo. No segundo bloco, nós vamos falar sobre outros aspectos da tradição budista. Vamos fazer um breve intervalo e voltamos já. Estamos de volta com Religare, Conhecimento e Religião. Hoje eu recebo a monja Karma Lekshya Tsomo. Ela é doutora em filosofia pela Universidade do Havaí e ela pertence à tradição do budismo tibetano. Nós vamos falar no segundo bloco sobre outros aspectos sobre o budismo, mas eu gostaria de começar ainda retomando um tema das suas conferências aqui na sua passagem pelo Brasil, que é o tema Mulher, Compaixão e Justiça Social. Como articular estes três temas?
Well, I think that they're integrally related because, in general, in society, we're in a mess, right? There's social justice everywhere, problems, conflicts, corruption, injustice everywhere. And the people who suffer most from these problems are the women and children. And women are responsible for the children. So it means that, in fact, these problems are affecting women more than ever, and more than maybe the general population. So we really need to address these problems. According to the UN, 60% of the work in the world is done by women. But women don't enjoy the benefits of their work in many cases. Now things are changing and in some very positive ways. But we see, especially in the fields of religion and politics, women are not fairly represented. So we still have lots of work to do. Yeah? And I think that compassion is a big piece of this. If we care about people, if we care about humanity, if we care about all living beings, including the animals, compassion is key. So we can take the wisdom of these great religious traditions, such as Buddhism, such as the Catholic social teachings and so forth, and emphasize compassion, try to implement that and try to change the system.
Uma das questões que mais afligem, né, as mulheres no Brasil é justo a violência. Não só uma violência estrutural, como a violência também física, de agressão e de morte de muitas mulheres no Brasil.
Yes.
Né? Que, nesse sentido, como compreender a compaixão, então, como um caminho para enfrentar? Como seria exatamente isso?
Well, violence against women is not just a problem in Brazil, it's a problem everywhere. And
Yes.
it's now getting attention. And I think this is a very positive thing. In India, Brazil, the United States, now people are more aware of the severity of this problem. How to address it? Well, I think education is key. And we should begin with the children. We need to begin with children to teach loving kindness and compassion as a virtue that is just natural. It's difficult to change our habits when we're older, but we also have to try. We have to try both with women and men and with children. And loving kindness and compassion, also wisdom. When's the right time to get out of a situation? How do we avoid potentially violent situations? All of this is from the wisdom side, right? And then we also need to help develop in our hearts loving kindness and compassion so that violence against another human being or an animal would be unthinkable.
Não querendo deixar um tema tão importante, né, como esse que nós estamos colocando aqui sobre o papel e o lugar das mulheres nas nossas sociedades, né? Mas um outro tema que você vai se dedicar na sua passagem aqui pelo Brasil é o tema da morte. Como que esse tema, né, ele se encontra, ele é refletido na sua tradição?
Death is an important topic in Buddhism from the very beginning. The Buddha was not a god, he was a human being. And at the end of his life, he died like the rest of us. So he taught that death is a natural part of life. If we train well, if we meditate or contemplate well, then we don't need to be afraid of death. We'll be able to handle it well. In fact, we can have a peaceful death, die in a very tranquil state, and this will be good for us and our families, right? So the Buddhists have many teachings about how to understand death and how to prepare for death. And if we meditate properly and live a good life, then at the end of death, we don't need to fear. We can be very confident, and we can make this transition with grace and even joy.
Esse tema da morte é um tema central para nós que estudamos religião, nos interessamos pelo estudo da religião. Qual é a grande diferença entre a concepção de morte no budismo e em outras tradições filosóficas e religiosas?
Well, one important difference is that in the Buddhist tradition and most South Asian traditions, we don't live just one time. We live again and again. We take birth in different life forms, and it's a path, like a spiritual journey, a journey of trying to purify our mind. So all of our life experiences are opportunities for learning, for developing wisdom and all good qualities. So I think this is one important difference. We can prepare for death, and we get better at it from lifetime to lifetime. So we don't get just one chance, we get more than one chance, yeah?
Quais são os conselhos de Buda sobre a morte? Quais são os ensinamentos propriamente de Buda sobre a morte?
Well, the Buddhist main teaching about death is to overcome our attachment to self, right? We're all attached to ourselves. And when we go to die, that's a big problem because we're getting separated from what we hold dearest. But that is an illusion. What we hold dearest, this solid concept of a self, is an illusion. So we're fooling ourselves. If we can understand the nature of the self, as from a Buddhist point of view, it's a combination of factors, body, feelings, consciousness, and so forth. And if we can see this as a construct, a mental construct, then it's not such a tragedy when we find it falling apart. So philosophically, it's a kind of deconstructionist system. And spiritually, it's a way of getting over our attachment to self. Attachment to all things, because we may find at the time of death we're also attached to our possessions, our friends, our loved ones, and all of that. And that can also become an obstacle at the time of death. So we need to leave our attachments behind.
Isso é muito distinto do movimento cultural que nós vivemos no Ocidente, né, de uma valorização, um apego ao eu. O budismo ele acaba sendo uma mensagem bastante contundente contra valores muito arraigados da cultura ocidental e particularmente no período mais esses séculos, né, da modernidade, os últimos 500 anos, digamos assim.
Yes, I think that in recent history, selfishness has become sort of a model. We hear people talking about, getting back to number one meaning myself. And we see bookshelves lined with books on self-help. But where are the books on other help? You see, so I think that this self-obsession is rather a modern trend, and I think it's rather unhealthy. Before the family, the community was more important than the self. It's even embodied in our language, the way we say, my friend and I, instead of me and my friend, right? But these days, you'll hear people saying it the other way, putting themselves before others. And that is really problematic because it is, according to the Buddhists, this kind of self-obsession that causes all of our problems. If we can get over that and think of others more, then we'll be happy naturally.
Sem resolver essa questão do apego ao ego, sem resolver essa obsessão, né, nós não conseguimos aprender e nos preparar para essa experiência da morte, não é mesmo?
Yes, directly related, yes. Because if we think of ourselves primarily, then our whole world will fall apart when we die. But if we think of others primarily, then we can think of them with happiness and we can leave easily. It's not such a problem.
Como que você avalia, para a gente terminar a nossa conversa aqui hoje, o conhecimento do budismo pelo mundo e talvez em especial como que você avalia a presença do budismo, a recepção do budismo aqui no Brasil?
Well, I'm happy to see that Buddhism seems to be very popular in Brazil. People here are very friendly anyway, so they seem to be very friendly to people of different traditions in the airports, on the street. I find everyone is very receptive. And I also think that people here have worked very hard to try to translate some of the Buddhist teachings into Portuguese so that there's quite a bit of information available for people who are interested. There are a lot of centers that have come up, and they're very well organized, very happy, harmonious places where anyone can come and learn how to be a better person. Basically, the Buddhist teachings are about how to be a better, more ethical, kinder person. So this is something that can be of benefit to everyone. You don't have to become a Buddhist. In fact, the Dalai Lama says, my religion is loving kindness. So this is the most important thing, right?
Qual é o primeiro passo para tornar-se budista?
To try to keep a kind heart. We try to keep a kind heart. Traditionally, it means that we take refuge in the Buddha, the Buddhist teachings, and the Buddhist community. So that is the definition of a Buddhist traditionally. But I think that the main principle is good ethical conduct and a loving heart. So in that sense, anyone could be a Buddhist, just like anyone who follows Jesus' teachings could be considered a Christian. Don't you think?
Claro. Eu agradeço muito a sua participação, agradeço a sua visita ao nosso país e ter encontrado um espaço na sua agenda para prestigiar os telespectadores do nosso programa aqui na nossa casa. Muito obrigado.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
O Religare Conhecimento e Religião é um projeto de extensão do Programa de Pós-Graduação em Ciências da Religião da PUC Minas. Você pode conhecer as nossas atividades, os nossos cursos de especialização, curso de mestrado, curso de doutorado, acessando a página que está na internet em pucminas.br/ppgcr. Religare de hoje fica por aqui. Eu agradeço pela sua companhia, agradeço a toda a nossa equipe. Um abraço muito cordial e até a próxima semana com o novo Religare Conhecimento e Religião.